President Trump inveighing on what he inherited from the Biden administration and what these federal law enforcement operations in big metropolitan areas are attending to accomplish.
What they've done, what the Democrats and Biden have done to this country will go down in infamy. What they have done to our country, and especially that, they created the worst inflation we've ever had. That's nothing compared to what they did with the people in our country right now. And we're getting them out. And it's not easy when you have the liberal judges destroying our country. But we've won them all. We've won it all. Ultimately won it all. Hard process. It should be easier. We know who it is. We know exactly who we're looking for. We had 11,000 murderers dropped into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. Or in some cases, they're so dangerous, we were afraid to get them out because they'd come back in. But for the last 120 days, 0 people came in. Can you imagine? This is me speaking, but these are figures developed by, they say, a pretty liberal group of people. They admit that 0 people came into our country. Think of that. A year ago, it was millions of people were coming in.
I mean, it's not literally 0, but it's trending in that direction. The number of nationwide encounters reported by Customs and Border Patrol in June and July broke records for being the lowest ever recorded. In May of 25, the daily average of total nationwide encounters was approximately 952, which is a historic low. Border Patrol's encounter on the southwest border also dropped to just 8,700 for the entire month. I mean, this is a small fraction. I mean, literally a small fraction. 93% decrease in illegal crossings. 95% decrease in the gotaways, migrants who cross the border without encountering CBP in the first 100 days of the Trump administration. So that's what he's doing. As we were just discussing with the activity in Chicagoland over the weekend. I mean, the hysteria that he induces, the rallies, the coalitions that are hastily put together, like this guy who is one of the protesters, and he's the head of the newly formed coalition against Trump. Could there be a better group name? Corey Gullery is the guy, the head of coalition against Trump, out in force this weekend protesting. Well, they don't really know what. Protesting on behalf of violent criminals in this country illegally. What are you for? I'm against Trump. Anything specific? No, just in general. Very reasoned.
We have to stand up together and say very loudly, very proudly that this is not going to happen. That we are not accepting this.
Accepting what? Enforcement of the law? Yeah, okay. Well, you're saying it loudly and proudly. It couldn't be clearer. As I say, it provides great clarity for the American people. So we can appreciate them for that. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Stephen Sund, former chief of the U.S. Capitol Police, author of Courage Under Fire, the definitive account from inside the Capitol on January 6th. Stephen Sund, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Dan. My pleasure.
Again, just in terms of providing clarity, the real world experience, people paying attention come to understand when you see, for example, joint efforts between the National Guard and local police in Washington, D.C. I know the Attorney General for D.C. is suing the Trump administration, even as Muriel Bowser, the mayor, is basically complimenting Trump without complimenting him directly by talking about how much crime has been reduced in D.C. over the last 3 weeks. And I think most people are oriented towards solutions, particularly when it comes to their own personal safety. And this at least is a temporary improvement in the situation in D.C. And I think this is why you're seeing more people rallying around the Trump position, even if they don't particularly like Trump, than the position of the protesters.
You're absolutely right in that. person that's the head of the coalition against Trump, his intellect speaks volume when he's talking. But I'll tell you, I had 25 and a half years, a little over 25 years with the D.C. Police Department from 1990 through the end of 2015, and had patrolled in some of the highest crime areas during the height of some crime, homicides in Washington, D.C., and I've been on a number of these task forces. We've used these type of task forces in the past, Safe Streets, Summer Crime Initiatives, where we're bringing in the FBI, ATF, DEA, and they do work. They do work. This one is working extraordinarily well, 87% reduction in carjackings, 57% reduction in homicides, so it is working. But I'll tell you, I actually had breakfast with some of the people on the federal task force yesterday. They were getting ready to go out last night, and they were telling me, when we're out on patrol, 85% of the people that come up to them are thanking them. They have college students thanking them, because a lot of times they're putting these people in more of the touristy areas so the local police, the D.C. police, can actually focus on some of the more high crime areas. Mm-hmm. And when they're outside, like in Georgetown or down around the mall or down there on the White House, he said 85% of the people coming up to him are thanking them for being there. He goes, 15% are like mentally unhinged. They had one guy come out. He was walking his dog down by the waterfront, the wharf, and this guy just started going off on him. And it wasn't like he was arguing the facts. He was cursing this guy out, saying the most inhumane things about the guy's wife, the guy's family. He doesn't even know him. I mean, this guy's just a federal agent patrolling the streets, and this guy's just going off on him. Just saying it is the most horrendous things I could ever imagine. But you just got to take it. You just got to take it. And as we walked away, there's three of us. He said, as we walked away, the guy just got angrier and angrier. So that's the type of people you have that are going against this. The people in the neighborhoods like Anacostia, Congress Heights, where there's significant crime, they want to see more of this. They're the ones really the victims, not the people that live in Northwest or the areas where there's low crime.
Yeah, I mean, what you see is people who have basically had a psychotic break. I mean, I really don't know otherwise know how to describe it. And then they're just cheered on by politicians and amplified by the media, so they get some sort of self-satisfaction from what they consider, I don't know, their moral superiority or something. But you just can't, I mean, and Trump is very good at this. The Republican Party hasn't always been very good at it, but Trump is. You just can't spend your time worrying about those people. We're going to tell you what we're doing and why we're doing it, and explain to you the process, and then everybody's expectations should be properly calibrated. And as Tom Homan said, I just mentioned earlier in the hour, if you don't like the law, which I've just explained to you, then go change it. But this is the law, and we're here to enforce it. And most Americans are hip with that.
Absolutely. Americans want safety in their communities, safety in their homes, safety in their schools. And I can't believe some of these politicians that are coming out, and they're actually coming out like in support of the crime. You had Pritzker coming out and saying, his heart aches for some of these communities when the federal agents may come in and disrupt parades, and then the Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, saying that really instead of more police, we just need affordable housing. Trust me, these people aren't going out and committing homicides and carjackings to go to work and pay the mortgage. So I don't see that helping out significantly. So they seem really detached from reality and on the wrong side of this one.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about J6 because, I mean, you gave such powerful testimony after your tenure there. I mean, you were a really important voice because you provided information that the public didn't otherwise get, at least from the previous administration, would not have otherwise had, talking about what the communication was like and the unusual lack of coordination in advance of January 6th and so forth. I mean, we played a number of your parts of a number of your interviews on this show. I mean, just thinking about J6 now, several years removed, and all that transpired. Do you feel like the complete story has been told, and that for whoever you think was at fault for the riot that occurred that day has been held to account?
No and no. Do I think the full story's been told? No. I think there's still significant information out there, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I'm happy to answer any questions about it. But I do believe there's more information out there. The pipe bomber, that's a key puzzle piece to this. If we can find out who's behind that pipe bomber, because I do believe the fact that the pipe bomber, the first pipe bomb was located just minutes before we have the riot get out of hand at 12:53 on the West Front, absolutely diverted a lot of my resources over toward the south side of the Capitol. I think that was the plan. And then when you have the other one at the DNC, I just think there's a lot of odd coincidence there. I think that's going to be a huge puzzle piece. I think there's more to it. People being held accountable, I am just dumbfounded that we're not hearing more about people being held accountable. You're talking to the only guy that was forced to resign, stripped of my retirement, and I was the one that tried to prevent it days in advance, and while we're under attack and kept getting denied. So, no, I don't believe people have been held accountable. I'm hoping the new January 6th committee under Chairman Barry Loudermilk is talking about having more hearings starting as early as this month. So we'll wait and see. I may be down there again testifying again. We'll see. But I do think there's more to find out.
You were stripped of your retirement on what basis?
Again, her going out and she lied about me on national TV. Forced my resignation. By forcing my resignation, I was literally just months away from being vested in the retirement. I just wasn't eligible for it anymore. And what's interesting is now Congress has substantiated everything I've said from day one. Their congressional reports in 2023 said if the Sergeant at Arms had approved Son's request on January 3rd, chances are the Capitol would have never been breached. And then December 17th, 2024, in the last report to the 118th Congress, the January 6th committee exonerated me by name. So now the fact that I've been exonerated, they've substantiated everything I've said, I'd like them to go back and maybe take a look at what I lost as a result of this.
Who is she? Was she? She lied. Who's she?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Speaker Pelosi.
Yeah.
It was Speaker Pelosi, Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving, who had denied my initial request and denied my request on January 6th for 71 minutes while we're under attack. And it was her that went on national TV, said it was my fault for the breach of the Capitol, and that I'd never even called her since it occurred. I spoke to her 3 times, once even with the Vice President. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just hoping more information comes out. But yeah, the involvement of members of Congress, they did change the law that required me to get approval. So they acknowledged that fact, but still they haven't, come out and tried to correct what happened to me.
And we have Pelosi now, it came out, I'm sure you saw the clip, in the car after she flees the Capitol, basically saying to her aide that we're going to be held responsible for this. How did we not have the necessary resources? Words to that effect. Basically, she was sort of in an excited moment, taking responsibility for what she didn't do. But of course, that didn't go anywhere. Not yet.
It hasn't gone anywhere yet, and I'm so thankful. At first, I was kind of surprised. Why would she have her daughter there, Alexandra Pelosi, videotaping this? But thank God she did, because now HBO has released that video to the committee where she's taking responsibility. She absolutely has responsibility. If you look at the law, 2 U.S. 1970, that requires me to ask permission, it even says in advance of an event, they have to get congressional leadership's concurrence. She's in the law. Her Sergeant at Arms wouldn't take it up to her. So, yeah, she actually does bear responsibility. So, and again, but nothing has happened. Think about it. There's been no censorship of her, and nothing's happened to her. Nothing's happened to some of her staff that were lying to her about me that caused her to go on national TV and call for my resignation. So, yeah, I do think there's still people to be held accountable. Do I think it'll happen? I don't know.
Yeah,
we shall see.
Well, the whole there are big things. One is the opportunity to have the National Guard prior to January 6th. That was an offer that was made. Another aspect of this, and that's sort of connected, is I'm still bothered that we never really got an account of the conversations between the Sergeant at Arms for the House and the Senate, so for Pelosi and McConnell at the time, what they knew in the run-up, in the planning, what they were communicating, the conversations in the run-up and the planning, as well as in real time on that day. We don't have any real accounting of that, do we?
No, we don't. The January 6th Select Committee specifically said Speaker Pelosi and her communications are off limits. I 100% agree with you. Those communications are key to what was going on. But But even to your point, what was the communications between like General Milley? We now know General Milley was actually collecting intelligence in advance, and he had he'd regularly talk to people up on the Hill. What communications were going on between the Pentagon, General Milley, and members of Congress that he was passing information on to them? Because there's a requirement. If the intelligence community picks up on any threats against members of Congress, there's a duty to warn. It's Section 191 of the Intelligence Community Directives for them to make notification to the people that are responsible for protecting members of Congress, which would have been my troops, myself and my troops. No notification made, but I now suspect he was having communications with members of Congress about those threats.
And what about the characterizations that have been made by a lot of politicians on the left that officers died that day? I mean, as a law enforcement officer, I wonder how you react to that. Obviously, there were officers injured, and people who injured police officers should be prosecuted, of course. But but the idea that that the J6 rioters killed police officers, which is the idea that's been conveyed by leftist politicians.
Yeah, there's been a number of reports about several. I've heard everything from 3 to 6 police officers killed that day. The fact is, we had one police officer die the next day. It was about 9:30 at night. He had a stroke. He had been involved in the fighting on the West Front. Brian Sicknick. He collapsed walking with some Capitol Police officers and a Virginia State trooper who was also a medic. He never regained consciousness and passed away at a local hospital the next day. That is, clear. That clearly is a line of duty death. The coroner, even though the coroner came out and said it was natural causes, he did say that in an interview that the incident of that day contributed to his illness. But regardless, he had a stroke on duty, so that would have been a line of duty death anyway. Then you had a couple of people that committed suicide. Howard Leeman-Good committed suicide on the 9th with Capitol Police, Jeffrey Smith on the 16th. And they've contributed those to January 6th as well. That, again, suicide's a really tough one. This is a traumatic line of work. In policing, you deal with a lot of trauma. You deal with a lot of, serious incidents. And you never want people to turn toward their service weapon or turn toward a weapon to self-inflict to end it. So you hope they'll go get counseling, things like that. And I just can get concerned that when you make these things line of duty deaths, you give officers another way out if they ever face a real traumatic injury or incident. That if they don't want to seek counseling or something like that, if they self-inflict, they may get all the honors of a line of duty death. I don't know if that's a step in the right direction when we're trying to get officers to get more counseling, but that's kind of my opinion on it. Stephen
Sund is a former chief of U.S. Capitol Police, author of the book Courage Under Fire, the definitive account from inside the Capitol on January 6th. Courage Under Fire is the book. Stephen Sund, the author. Stephen Sund, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Dan.
And Stephen Sund joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVP